Hi there. Here we are. It's Wednesday, and we're ready to talk about
Hi.
an interesting topic for us anyway. I would say this topic is the essence of our work.
Absolutely.
So we
What?
are Laura and Dave Butler of Work Life Consulting, and we offer online and in-person executive coaching, team development work for the individual who's a part of the team and the organization. So today's topic, EQ is leadership's blind spot.
Yes, indeed.
Tell me about that one.
Well, um, starting with the EQ being popularized in 1995 through, up into the 2000s, it's been 7 years since it came out, and still people are still struggling to understand what it is, especially in leadership. Because in leadership, there's been such a focus for so many years, such deep ruts and tracks that have to do with money and budget and profitability and all those things which are important. But the people piece has become even more important now, and the fact that leadership has not really embraced EQ to the extent that they need to, it's even worse because now they don't know how to deal with the Great Resignation and all the other things that are revolutionizing the workforce. So I call it the blind spot. Blind spot, I think everybody knows what it is. You can't see in the car. It's easy to, we call the back behind the left side of the driver the blind spot because you can't see the cars coming up on you. Well, the same thing is true in organizations and leadership. There's an awful lot of stuff going on, and there's so much of it that people don't see on a daily basis, and most of that is the EQ car that's coming up alongside them. And it's issues, and all of a sudden the issues show up, and they go, "Gee, where did that come from?" Well, it's always been there.
Well, I think it's also indicative of the fact that the discussion, most of the pressure, especially on leaders, is results driven.
Mm-hmm.
So the time it takes to address the understanding of what this means, EQ is leadership's blind spot, takes time to really come to terms with what that may be. And it also is affected by these biases.
Yeah, all kinds of biases. Bias towards action, a bias towards certain kinds of people, bias towards gender, a bias towards responsibilities. I mean, it's all over the place. But I think one of the key factors is that I'm glad you brought up results because I agree. Leadership is dedicated to results, but engagement of your employees is a result too.
Well, one of the interesting articles I saw recently, talking again about the Great Resignation, is about how much effort is put on attracting people to organizations,
Mm-hmm.
but the blind spot is offering that support for the people you have.
And then when you do find the people, the onboarding process is usually terrible.
Right.
And half the people you hire are leaving in 3 to 6 months because they can't stand the place because they feel lost.
Well, I think this is another key piece. These biases and zones, what they're actually called.
It's called a scotoma.
Yeah.
Which means fundamentally a blind spot. We look out there and we think everything's lovely, but we're not seeing what's really going on. We don't see the lack of safety, psychological safety, that's causing so many problems. We don't see the confusion that's going on with people not really understanding what the goals are anymore and how they can work together with so many different kinds of people. It's just all of the things that have to do with relationships have become so important, and we have to start putting them in the same list of results as we do with profitability. Because profitability is not going to be there if your people aren't engaged. You can't make up for it with more people. You can't even find enough people as it is.
And I think that's the blind spot where, to understand how to do that, certain people do different things to maybe, kind of build that into the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes time if you're not used to that. And that's where the blind spot occurs, because there's that fine line between engagement and out the door result and, and relationships. But I think the EQ self-awareness is what
Yeah.
allows us to see.
Yeah, it allows us to see what we don't see. That's
Mhm.
what self-awareness is all about. I think people think, well, I'm self-aware, I know what all my strengths are and all that kind of stuff. So the more important thing is to be aware of where your blind spots are. At
Well,
least
I think this is interesting.
you know that you overlook it all the time, and you need to get some help, and you need somebody to help remind you or to give you that perspective. That's the key.
Well, I think this is interesting. It could be on my part a typo or your part in what you shared with me, but I like the idea that EQ self-awareness allows us to see what we don't see, but also where we don't
Where? Yeah,
see.
there's a what and a where.
Yeah, yeah,
Both are.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we are Dave and Laura Butler of Work Life Consulting. We produce our live stream every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. But one of the things that I'd love to hear from you, if you're listening to our recording, thank you for listening. If you're live, thank you for attending. But leave a comment. What blind spots have you noticed about yourself? I
Or
know.
about the organization where you work.
Yeah.
I mean, we have one of our clients. It's clear they're all really good at getting things done, but their blind spot is planning. So they keep coming up with like not enough work or not enough materials or whatever it is that they haven't planned for, and even planning for having enough people.
That's right. Well, one of the ways that we can address blind spots and help with a different perspective, provide people with different perspectives, is with the tool we use, which is the Berkman.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at this slide that shows the 4 core perspectives, there's a red, green, blue, yellow component to what we see. So personally, from my vantage point, I see things. Now it could be in the planning stages. It could be maybe in organizations, the people side of the house. So what I see is from my blue lens, and it affects how I structure, how I see the culture, how I align with the mission, vision, and goals. So the blind spot, particularly for me, is over on this side.
The red
And the yellow.
Yeah.
And
yeah, me too. I'm mostly green.
Yeah, so for us, here we have our business together. Guess what we overlook and causes our blind spots?
Right. Our blind spots compound each other. I have the blind spot. You have the blind spot. Pretty soon we're real busy doing the green and the blue, but what about the red and the yellow?
Oh, yeah, that stuff. But in terms of general guidance, let's say for individuals and organizations, which is what we do and how we use the tool, it's less about the organizational seats or colors here and more about what the process is. So reds are action. So reds are the doers. They go get it. They don't have a blind spot there at all, but their blind spot could be over in the diagonal opposite, over in the blue, where rather than take the time to plan and hold back a little bit and assess what's going on, they push the button. Let's go. Let's get things going.
Right. They know where the hammer is, but they don't know where the people are.
Or are they using a nail? And the blue, and in my world, my oversight could be, or my blind spot is action. Get off the dime, go get it done. But I do know intuitively that I need to do that. So I do it in terms of the way I work out. If I'm feeling super overwhelmed with things and my blue thought process gets in my way, I go down and I ride my Peloton bike and I get busy, I get active. So the same goes in your case, green. The green are the relationship builders, the storytellers, the kind of collaborators.
Right.
And so they'll talk, and I'm speaking for you now for a change. They'll talk all the time, but they may not have the clear facts and data to back up their story.
Right. So or they may overlook how long it's taking for them to tell the story.
Yeah. And to be able to tap into a yellow and say, hey, come on over to my side of the fence and give me some data.
Right. I think that's the big issue that I think we have to make a point about. I'm writing about it in the next blog that we have, is that it's not just about me being aware of, and that helps. So at least I know what it is that I overlook. It doesn't mean that I still can see it better, but at least I know where it is. I have to go find someone to help me in that area. That's
Right.
why it's so important. Diversity is not just a nice to have because everybody deserves a chance and we should be fair and equal with everybody. That's a lovely sentiment. The real issue is making sure we have people who can give me the information I need that I don't see.
Right.
And because we see things differently, we have a tendency to maybe disagree or whatever. We have to open up to that, be curious about, why does somebody see it differently than I do? And
Well,
make better, more comprehensive decisions. That's really the end result of this.
yeah, it really is the ability. That's where self-awareness comes in, and the ability to help each other have those conversations. And if something is going wrong, we know we tap into somebody. Maybe they're not our best friend. They don't have to be.
They don't have to be.
They can go and help us. And the same goes for Yellow. So Yellow, if they are, they have the most outstanding spreadsheets and data, but they could borrow the green storyteller and bring their data and their numbers to life. So we need all four of these in organizational support and teams.
Right. Yeah, you had just mentioned like the green likes to have people like them. So they look for a friend. They think that they need to be friends. And like you point out, they don't have to be. Well, the yellows, are probably more oriented towards the data and then the schedule and all that kind of stuff. They overlook the importance of having a relationship. So the same thing is true in that direction as being able to interact with each other. The yellows need to build more friendliness, if you will, more connection, more relationships. The greens need to not focus on that so much and focus more on the facts and the figures. So we need to meet in the middle. I mean, it's where all of these perspectives cross. That's what I mean by comprehensive. Being able to have a comprehensive view of what's going on and making better decisions as a result.
Well, I think the overall bottom line is, and how we help, is the leadership development programs that we create focus on addressing these blind spots. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love to help with in the momentness, if you will. When something is a house afire, to be able to step in and kind of provide that alternative view and help guide the direction that's a little bit better.
Well, in all these years that we've been doing this, and I've never once gone into a situation or a company where they were complaining about not knowing enough about the budget. They may have complained they didn't have enough budget, but they knew all they needed to know about the budget. The blind spot was always the people. Why are they doing that? Why aren't people working better? Why aren't they working together? Why can't we get on the same page? That's always it's the same problem over and over again. Mm-hmm. That's why I see that's the EQ is the blind spot. It's not the IQ.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So if you're listening to this on the recording, let us know what your blind spots are. Sometimes even just writing them down and addressing them in a comment kind of eliminates them a little bit. You can check out our website, worklifeonline.com. That we have a quiz up on our pop-up right now, which is on being emotionally smart. So please check that out and join us weekly. So we'll be here for new topics each week.
Well, another people have said to me, well, how am I supposed to see my blind spots if they're blind spots? Well, one of the best ways to do that is just to simply start categorizing the problems that should come up for you on a daily basis. Are they mostly budgetary? Are they mostly planning? Are they mostly people? Or are they mostly results and goals? You can color them if you want, red, green, blue, or yellow, but that's the point is the areas where the problems usually are coming from for you are probably the areas where you have the blind spot.
So I'm going to take that as a to-do on my list. So thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. And we're going to play a little, as we always close out our live streams, with our dear friend Elliot Lewis and his music. So thanks for listening.